Today's video is going to discuss the third method for graphing a linear equation. So we've done graphing with a table, we have done graphing with x and y intercepts, and now we're going to be graphing in slope-intercept form using the slope and the y-intercept. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the steps. I'm going to kind of write it over here. Well, I'm going to write it on a new piece of paper. You can probably fit it to the column to the right-hand side of this graph, but you know I write a little large. So the steps to graph from slope and y-intercept, okay? So we're going to be graphing equations using the slope and the y-intercept. First thing we need to do is we need to put in intercept form if necessary. You may come across a problem that's already in intercept form, so for that case you will not have to put it in there. The second step is we need to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Thirdly, we are going to plot the y-intercept. And the final step is that from the y-intercept, we're going to use rise over run for the slope to get more points. We are going to need a total of 3 points when we're graphing using slope and y-intercept. So when we graphed using a table, we found 3 points. With the x and y intercept, we only needed 2 points, the x-intercept and the y. And when we're using this, we're going to need 3 points. So let's go back to the table. So we have our original equation. We're going to have our slope-intercept form, right? So we're going to want this in y equals mx plus b. We're going to need our slope, which is m. And then we're going to need our y-intercept, which is b. So let's look. The first problem is already in slope-intercept form. So I'm just going to rewrite the problem, I'm sorry. And we know that our slope is 3. And our y-intercept, slope, and y-intercept is 1. That's probably the easiest of all the equations. Again, look at b. B is already in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to rewrite it. Y equals negative x plus 2. So we know that our slope, right, the coefficient in front of x is negative 1. And our y-intercept is going to be 2. Next one. C is not in slope-intercept form, but we know how to solve for y, so we can easily do that. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So I have the equation y equals negative 2x plus 6. Now we can identify our slope is negative 2, and our y-intercept is going to be 6. Next, D. I am going to break this into different terms so we can see what our y-intercept and our b term, or I'm sorry, our m and our b are. So y equals, this is 1/2 x plus 3 over 2. I just shared that denominator with both of those terms. So my slope is going to be 1/2, and my y-intercept is going to be 3 over 2. All right, let's look at E. Sorry, I can write this in there. 1/2 x plus 3x. Okay, so E is actually already in slope-intercept form. But of course, that slope term is missing, so that means that the slope was 0, right? 0 times x is 0. And our y-intercept is going to be negative 3. And finally, for this one, we got to solve for y, so I'm going to move 2x over. Negative 4y equals negative 2x plus 16. I'm going to divide by negative 4, and I'm going to come up with y equals negative 2 divided by a negative 4 is a positive 1/2 x, and then 16 divided by a negative 4 is negative 4. That would mean that our slope is going to be 1/2, and our y-intercept is negative 4. Okay, so we put them into intercept form, step 1. We have identified the slope and the y-intercept, and now we're going to graph these using slope and y-intercept. I can't see A and do A at the same time, so I'm just going to... All right, so for A, our slope is 3, which, if it helps, you can do 3 over 1. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to plot my y-intercept. My y-intercept is where I cross the y-axis. Well, that's a positive 1. So I'm going to go to positive 1, and I'm going to put my first spot. Now I need to find 2 other points so that I can connect them to make a line. And I'm going to use my slope, my rise over run, to find these next 2 points. So from my y-intercept, my original point, I'm going to rise 3 and I'm going to run 1. Rise 3, run 1, and then I'm going to repeat the process. Up 3, run 1. So now that I have 3 points, I'm going to use a straight edge. We should use straight edges so we're as accurate as possible, even though it's going to be hard for me. And I'm going to connect those points and make a line. You do need arrows on your line. If you do not have arrows, that is not right. The arrows show that that line goes on forever. All right, let's try another one. For B, my y-intercept is a positive 2, so I'm going to go and I'm going to put my first spot at positive 2. And now I'm going to use my slope. My slope is negative 1 over 1, so that's my rise over run. So from that point, I'm going to, although it says rise over run, when it's a negative, we're going to go down. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. I have my 3 points. I'm going to connect them with a straight edge, and there's my line. All right, for C. C, we have a y-intercept of 6, so I'm going to start at 6. And I'm going to use my slope, negative 2 over 1. So my rise is negative 2, so since it's negative, I'll actually be going down 2, and then I'm going to run 1. So I'm going to go down 2, run 1, down 2, run 1. I have my 3 points. I'm going to connect it to make the line. All right, let's look at the last 3 examples. For D, I have, okay, D is a little tricky because we have a fraction. And most of the things, pretty much 99% of the time, I will not give you fractions to graph. It's just too hard, and these are really small graphs, but we're going to do it anyway. So 3/2 is 1 1/2, so that's between 1 and 2. And now my slope is 1/2, so I'm going to go up 1 and over 2. So I'm still kind of in between the 2 full whole numbers. So up 1 and over 2. And there you go. All right, let's look at E. E has a y-intercept of negative 3. And it has a slope of 0. So we're literally just, and we know this from today, y equals negative 3 is just the line y equals negative 3. We're not rising, we're running, and there's the line y equals, I'm sorry, oh, it was supposed to be a negative. That was my fault. Negative 3 is down here, and that's the line y equals negative 3. Slope of 0, we know this. And our final one is F. Our y-intercept is at negative 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. My slope is 1/2, so I'm going to rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. There you have it. I'm going to connect my lines. That one wasn't very straight. Draw my arrows, and I'm done. So I think this is one of the easier methods. It may take a little practice, but as soon as you get it into y equals mx plus b form, identify the slope and the y-intercept, and then you could easily graph it from there. If you turn your paper over, there are 5 more questions, so just complete those, and I'll check them during our next class.